Hey everyone. Today, we're going to talk about something that's kind of like the secret memory of the web. It's called file handling in PHP. This is how websites remember things long after you've clicked away.
I mean, you've probably wondered about this, right? How does a website remember your name? Or when you post a comment, where does it go? It doesn't just vanish into thin air. The website needs a way to hold on to that information, to save it and pull it back up later. But how?
Well, the answer is actually really simple. They write it down in files. And for our little chat today, that's the main idea I want you to grab onto. Just think of a file on a server as a website's digital notebook. It's a place where it can jot down notes, read old entries, and basically create a memory.
Okay, so let's get into it. Just like with a real notebook, you can't just start writing or reading from nowhere. There's a little bit of a process. You got to find the right notebook first, open it up, and then decide what you're actually trying to do with it. In PHP, that very first step is a function called open, F-O-P-O-N. This is you telling the server, hey, I need to do something with this specific file. If everything goes well, it gives you back what's called a file handle. And you can just think of that handle as literally having the notebook in your hands. It's what you're going to use for everything else you want to do.
Now here's where it gets interesting. When you open that notebook, you have to say what you're planning to do. They call this the mode. So R is just for read. You're only looking, not changing anything. But W for write is way more powerful. It's kind of like tearing out all the old pages and starting completely fresh. Then you've got A for append, which is maybe the most common. It just adds your new note to the very end of the book. Super useful for something like a guest book, right? You want to keep all the old comments. Stating your intention up front is really important because it stops you from accidentally wiping out data you wanted to save.
All right, you've got your notebook open and you know what you want to do. Now for the fun part, actually writing and reading. PHP gives us a couple of ways to do this. There's a super simple, all-in-one way, and then there's a more manual, step-by-step way.
Let's start with the easy one, file put contents. It's almost like magic. You just tell it which file to write to and what you want to say. It literally handles the rest. It finds the notebook, writes the note, and then puts it right back on the shelf for you. It's incredibly handy for those quick writing tasks.
And you guessed it, for reading, there's a partner function, file get contents. It does the exact opposite. It grabs the notebook, reads every single word inside from start to finish, and just hands you the whole thing as one big chunk of text. Perfect for when you need to get all the info out of a file right away.
And this slide right here shows the difference perfectly. See, on the left, you've got that simple one-line helper. On the right, though, you see the 3 manual steps that it's doing for you behind the scenes. It's opening the file with fopen, writing to it with fwrite, and then closing it with fclose. So the simple way isn't actually magic. It's just a really convenient shortcut for that whole manual process. But what if you don't want to read the entire notebook at once? What if the file is massive and you only need to find one little thing? Well, for that, you'd use the manual approach. You can set up a loop that just reads one line at a time. And after each line, you can check it. The loop keeps going until a little function called FOUF says, hey, you've reached the end of the file. It's just like reading a book one page at a time. It gives you a ton more control. So this is the really big takeaway for the manual way. If you open a file yourself with fopen, you have one job. You have to remember to close it with fclose when you're done. This tells the server, okay, I'm finished, and it frees up that file so other people or processes can use it. It's the digital version of good manners. Put the notebook back when you're done with it.
Okay, that's enough theory. Let's see how this all clicks together in a really simple, real-world example. I'm sure you've all used something like this before. Let's walk through how these functions build a basic guest book. So here's how it works. Step 1, a visitor writes a message and hits submit. 2, your PHP script grabs that text. 3, and here's our part, the script uses file put contents to append that new comment to a file, let's call it comments.txt. Step 4, to show all the comments, the script then uses file get contents to read that whole updated file. And finally, step 5, it just spits all those comments back out on the screen for everyone to see. See that? It's a full conversation. The user speaks, the server writes it down in its notebook, and then it reads it back out loud.
We've covered a fair bit, but I really want to leave you with a super simple, no-pressure idea to take away from all this. You don't need to be an expert on day one. This is it. This is the whole thing in a nutshell. Whether you're reading or writing, using the easy helpers or the manual stuff, the basic pattern is always the same. You open a connection to the file, you do something to it, and then you close the connection. If you can just remember that rhythm, open, act, close, you've totally got the heart of file handling down.
So as we wrap up, I'll just leave you with this thought. Now that you know how a website can actually have a memory, what's the first little note you think your website should remember? Maybe a visitor's name? Or maybe just counting how many times a page has been viewed? The possibilities are pretty much endless, and they all start with that first digital notebook. Thanks so much for listening.